What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's Daniel checking back in the new video. I want to talk about my drug addiction and how I got caught up in drugs and my drug addiction and how I got clean. I was a drug addict for a long time. I got into drugs in my teenage years, and then it progressed into other things. I did other stuff recreationally, I want to say, and then it kind of spiraled out of control when I got into pills, doing pain pills and like tranquilizer type pills. I hung out with a lot of guys that like to do drugs and get high and get into trouble. So I kind of got peer pressured into it, I want to say. I mean, a lot of people will peer pressure you into using. So, it's, oh, you're going to be cool if you do it. And, you get the idea like it's not that bad. And then it gets romanticized and with music and like mainstream media or whatever, and then you see people doing it, and they kind of they romanticize it, and they give you like a depiction of how good it could be, when it's not really all that. You're just really just numb most of the time. You're not really doing anything that great. You're just stuck in a weird state of living. You kind of like in a place where you don't function that well, so you don't accomplish a lot of stuff. And back then I was apathetic to life, and it was like an escape. I used drugs like a way of escapism. Like, that's a way of being. Like, a lot of people want to escape their problems, they want to escape. They want to use things to escape, they want to use drugs to escape. They want to use things that distract them. That's a form of escapism, and it's a form of dealing with life. I think I was just ignorant to a lot of things in life, and I didn't understand how things worked, and I was just apathetic to the system. Everything looked overwhelming in a way, and everything looked like it was built against you. Like the system was meant to keep you down, and you kind of like lose hope and you turn to drugs. So if you don't have people that help point you in the right direction, you might end up going the wrong way a lot. And I think by using drugs, I ended up going down a lot of the wrong roads, a lot of bad. Ended up doing a lot of bad things that I regret. I regret a lot now. So I got into like pills and stuff in my 20s, and ended up being on pills and abusing pills for like 10 years, over 10 years, maybe a little bit. And spent a lot of time just broke, and a lot of times sick. A lot of times I wasn't working. I was just selling drugs and trying to get by. And looking back, it was kind of like a petty way of being, a petty way of living. I was like a bottom feeder, just going, you're going around the neighborhood and just getting into all kinds of trouble, and trying to do a bunch of stupid stuff for money just to support your habit. So it's like a never-ending cycle. You get caught up in that loop where you're just, like chasing your tail almost. But I stayed on drugs for a long time, and I had a lot of close calls too. Like I ended up in a car wreck one time. I barely survived. I mean, I could have died because I passed out while driving. Crashed into something, and luckily walked away. But that was a close call, and I seen how messed up it was at the time, and it made me slow down. It made me kind of back up a little bit, but I didn't want to quit. You'll make a bunch of excuses in your head. If you're a drug addict, you'll make a ton of excuses. You won't want to quit. You'll be like, oh, I'll slow it down, and that ain't how it works. If you're an addict, you're just an addict. You're gonna try to justify your use and everything. So I didn't know how to admit I was an addict. I didn't know I could go to rehab, and I got caught up in a lot of bullshit, like the car wreck. I crashed the car. I ended up going to jail a few times for trying to steal stuff and to get money to help support my habit. And I was just using for a long time, and I didn't get anywhere. And I think I had a close call with like an overdose, maybe. I took a bunch of pills when I got scared because I was going to jail, and I luckily woke back up. But that could have been the end too, right there. I got lucky. I didn't take too many. I just took a bunch of pills trying to escape my problems. But when you do drugs to feel better about your problem, you just numb the pain for a little while, and then when you wake up, the problem is still there, and it might be even worse. So I just made a lot of problems for myself, almost. Like I was just so ignorant and stupid and most of the things that I did. You're not really thinking, you're not really doing any how do they say it? You're not really doing any critical thinking. You're not working out your problems. You're just going with the flow, and you're flowing through life. And then your attitude, you become indifferent to everything, and you're not proactive at all. You're just negative in your being. And I'm still struggling with that now, even after getting sober. I got sober a while ago, but only after I did drugs till I was about 35, my mid-30s, and I had enough, and I didn't want to do it anymore. But I decided that it was enough, and I seen other people could get clean, and you could have a good life. Because I think remembering back to the time I was clean before drugs, I wanted to go back to that person. I wanted to see what life was like on its own terms. I wanted to have that again. I had gone sober for a little while, I think, at a time. I think, I went for days without drugs, but you still always went back to drugs or something, You wanted to do something to get high. So I was curious, what is it like living a life without getting high or doing drugs or drinking alcohol or doing anything, just being sober. And I thought life might be different and a lot better. Just, you're still gonna have problems. It's still gonna kind of suck, and you're not gonna be able to numb the pain. You're not gonna be able to escape. So, just learning how to deal with your problems is a big thing. How to deal with your problems without the use of any substances. And so from like my 20s to 35, I was using drugs. It's like 15 years I wasted like using drugs really bad, and right around 35 I went to rehab after going to jail so many times and ended up in the hospitals and the system and just looking for help and a way out. I finally went to rehab. Didn't know you could just go to rehab or you could just try to get in there, and I guess I wasn't open to it back then. I wasn't really taking it too serious. I was just lost in my ways. But I finally ended up in rehab and started taking it serious, because you get 35, you're a 35-year-old man, and you're not doing anything with your life. You don't have anything to show for your life. It feels depressing. You want to have something. You want to feel better, bro. I think I just hit rock bottom right then, and I realized I needed to do something with my life. And I think people told me, they gave me some advice here and there, but I didn't take them seriously. And I started taking life more seriously, and I went to rehab right around 35. And I got clean. I went to rehab. I stayed at rehab. I didn't leave like a lot of people do. They just they used it as an escape from prison or something, and then they would leave to go be with some friend, or and just mess up their whole sentence, and probably end up getting caught down the road, or ODing or something, and then going to do more time or end up dead. So it didn't make any sense to go to rehab, because you had to sit at rehab, you had to be at rehab, you had to go to classes all day. But to me, it was anything was better than the life I was living. So you had a place to stay, and you had people were helping you. So I learned a lot at rehab. Better ways to deal with my problems, to be mindful, to accept my addiction, to accept the fact that I'm an addict, and I'll always be an addict. They like to say that we'll always be addicts no matter what, and it's still true in a way. I think I'm always trying to use escapism still, even without drugs. I'm trying to escape through social media and YouTube and movies and the gym. Anything for a dopamine kick, It's kind of like a hedonistic way of living, when you're just chasing after feel good chemicals. But it's funny, because a lot of people chase after that normally anyway. They just want to feel good anyway. But they call it a hedonistic lifestyle. So they say you can chase pleasure, but you should also have meaning in life. It gives, or a purpose or something else, because it's almost animalistic living like that, just to feel good. But interesting. I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with that, but got clean in my mid-30s, and life has been a lot better. I've been able to accomplish a lot more and do a lot more things. I've tried a lot of stuff. I went back to school. I went and got a trade. I went and got a Class A license. I went and drove local truck for a while, Class B. And then I went and I did some other work and some other jobs and stuff. And I'm working towards something greater now. But my drug addiction took up a lot of my time. It consumed most of my life. And I didn't get anywhere. So for like 15 years, I was just floating around and wasting time. So I seen people OD. I didn't watch them OD, but I had friends that OD'd and they're gone. My cousin, I seen him. He succumbed to alcoholism. He was my age, and he was on the streets, homeless for a while, just drinking and panhandling. And he died because he couldn't stop. He just wanted to drink all day. He was trying to live that pipe dream of I could just do this and have a life. You gotta choose one or the other. You gotta give it up, period, I think. Whatever, if it's a drug or if it's alcohol, it gets to a certain extent, you gotta just cut it out, because he was bad. He got really bad. He just drank malt liquor, like the nastiest stuff you could drink. Every day, all day, he wanted to drink, and he drank himself until he started to have seizures. He was homeless, just living for a malt liquor every day, and going in and out of jail and getting in trouble, and just didn't have a life at all. So I thought that's like rock bottom, where people are like, you know what, this ain't worth it. What am I doing? I gave up everything just to drink malt liquor and become an asshole. And it's funny what people will go through. They'll say fuck everything and just accept that life, like it's the way to live. And then my uncle did the same thing. He wanted to drink and drug. He wanted to do drugs too. My cousin was mainly an alcoholic, but he ended up passing away a few years ago on the street. He drank himself to death. They found him, they took him to the hospital, and he did not wake up. And I'm still sad about it. He was a good guy, he didn't want to give up drinking. I wish he would have got sober, and he could have had a decent life. He had some issues and some problems, but he was a good person. Like deep down, he could be a good person, but when he was on alcohol, he became an asshole. And my uncle, he passed away a few years ago too. He was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and had been to prison a lot. But I think they gave him some bad drugs, and he, like maybe fentanyl or something, and he ended up ODing and dying. It's a weird mix of drugs, and I think he went to the hospital and was dead when they found him. I was pretty sad about that too, but I got clean right before they passed away, and I seen them, and I was trying to help them, but I couldn't do anything because you can't tell an addict nothing. They won't listen. And I was sad about it. I'm still sad about it, but I can't do nothing about it. I mean, I tried to help them, but there's only so much you can do. So I miss my uncle. I miss my cousin. I stayed clean though. I stayed clean. I've been clean since my mid-30s, and I don't want to go back to that, no matter how bad it gets. And if this could help somebody, I'll be happy. I just want to share my story, and I'm hoping it will help somebody. It took up a lot of my life, and it was a big problem for a while. But yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about now. See you next time.